Welcome back to Cosmic Comics. With the trial of the Watcher complete, we find Rick and Marvel finally separated from one another. But new problems are on the horizon for both Rick and Marvel, beginning in Captain Marvel, Volume 1, Issue number 40, written by Englehart and Milgram, with art by Milgram. The opening splash takes us to the location of where Mar-Vell lovingly disposed of the corpse of his one-time love, Una. Surprisingly, she doesn't appear to be dead here, as she has risen in order to evade a giant, green, gaping-mouthed creature covered in tentacles. The creature moves forth, embracing Una and sucking her in. Una screams, the stifling of which thrills the creature, until Una stops fighting and her body begins moving with a pulsating rhythm. As she does so, the monster fades away, leaving Una looking about the asteroid's cratered surface. She waits for 6 seconds before flying away in search of Captain Marvel. So many questions from this comic's opening pages. How did Una's corpse come back to life? How does she take flight or survive the brutal harshness of space? We're told the events concerning Una took place 2 weeks ago as we switch to Marvel, Rick Jones, and the Watcher, who have all returned from the Watcher's planet to the Watcher's abode on the Earth's moon. The Watcher suggests he would thank them if he could for their efforts, but you know, being a Watcher and all. I'm still not sure that Rick and Marvel helped with anything while they were there. To see me cover the trial of the Watcher in full, follow the link above. Rick points out that the Watcher got off by agreeing to not interfere anymore, and that was that. Rick seems to think that something more should have been owed, and with just cause, as the Watcher openly supported several attempts to murder Rick Jones, and the Watcher's response is rather problematic. A Watcher's word is truth itself, or it should be. The addendum at the end of the sentence refutes exactly what he's attempting to say, and then he digs his hole deeper, admitting that he himself has been a liar, but he isn't one now. Marvel instructs Rick to drop it, insisting that the Watcher, a known liar and attempted murderer, is worthy of trusting on an honor system. Marvel insists that they have done what they came for, defeating the Lunatic Legion, and Rick chimes in that they can return to Earth as 2 separate beings. I know what he meant when he said that, but it's humorous that in the very next panel, Rick lets us know that in order to complete the return trip home, him and Marvel are merging together once more. It's also odd that they show both Rick and Marvel throwing a wrist up and the ka-ting sound, as Marvel is wearing both negabands at the moment. As they fly away, Uatu the Watcher merely watches. The Watcher could easily save Marvel 10 hours and Rick 20 weeks of sitting in the negative zone and transport them back to Earth, but he's a reformed Watcher. But for some reason it was okay for the Watcher or Watchers to transport Rick and Marvel back to the moon? Why not just go the extra step and drop Rick and Marvel off on Earth? As Rick and Marvel come in for a landing on Earth, it is confirmed. For the first time in months, Rick and Marvel can separate whenever they want. The panel after they split, we're told that all they want to do is be free of each other. But we are reminded, Rick and Marvel, their shared history was, for all its problems, an era of glory, never to be forgotten. And with that I would agree. From the Kree-Skrull War to the Thanos War, Rick and Marvel have shared experiences that will forever bond the two together. But after what took place, both men crave privacy, solitude, and loneliness. Anything but togetherness. With that in mind, as the two part ways, they shake hands, but no words are spoken. We, the reader, are not yet free of Rick Jones. Instead of flying away with Marvel, we shift to Rick walking towards the stage entrance and a new life. Rick walks in backstage and Mordecai greets him with open arms. People are starting to think Rick was going to be a no-show, but Mordecai knew Rick would pull through. Rick's show and stage partner, Dandy, arrives, wanting to know how Rick's personal thing went. Rick wants to bring up the drugs she gave him, but before he has a chance, Dandy calls out Rick's outfit, the spacesuit exoskeleton. Rick seems taken aback, probably wanting to change clothes, but Mordecai insists that the spacesuit, it's perfect for his act. We then switch over to Avengers Mansion, where we get a wonderfully domestic scene of Captain Marvel drinking some hot cocoa in front of a coffee table and fireplace, while Jarvis offers him another cup. I'm not certain how long Marvel has been waiting, but Jarvis notes that the Avengers appear to be taking longer than expected. Marvel lets Jarvis know that he wanted to speak to them before leaving Earth. Jarvis notes the way Marvel says it makes it sound as if he will never return. Marvel doesn't say he will return, but lets Jarvis know that he's ready to head to Hala. He misses the sight of his homeworld and wants to talk with the Supreme Intelligence. Jarvis, speaking on behalf of the Avengers, lets him know that it has been an honor to have him allied with the Avengers. As Marvel flies away, we get some great character complexity from the inner dialogue. We see him wondering if the Avengers were his allies or simply people who got trapped in the same fog of war as himself. Super interesting. Marvel says he'll miss them because he shares Rick's memories of them. Wow, it makes one wonder how deep their mind meld goes. And the next panel nails it. It can be argued that an individual is his memories. So if Rick and Marvel both share all of each other's memories, what does that mean? I'm not sure. We are at Cape Canaveral where an unmanned rocket is about to be launched as the sun sets behind it. And look who is in charge of security. Down on her luck, Carol Danvers. Even Carol is remarking to herself that her stocks have taken a tumble, but maybe today is her moment to shine. She spots a woman on the launch pad and calls a halt to the countdown. The woman, who is Una, walks right up to the camera of the monitor Carol is watching and starts yelling about how Carol's mind is open to her and nothing can keep her from the most hated of all humans. And explosion, and once again, Carol Danvers is blasted off of her feet. We don't get to see what happens next as it switches back to Rick Jones. As he looks at the crowd, Rick notes that he might be a little bit out of touch when it comes to the teen scene. I'm not certain that Mordecai booked Rick for the teen scene. If so, the audience is made up of some very mature-looking teens. With his stage performance coming up, Rick is beginning to get a little bit nervous about the lack of feedback he's received from Mordecai, and isn't even sure how the entire act is supposed to work. Mordecai comes to get Rick for the stage, and as they walk towards the stage, Rick wants Mordecai to run him through the program a couple of times, but Mordecai insists that Rick's spontaneity will pull him through. Mordecai continues to insist that everything will be fine. Trust him. Elsewhere, Marvel has arrived in Cape Canaveral to say goodbye to Carol Danvers. His connections in the Pentagon told him that she was working here once more. Marvel notes that he'll have to wait until the base finishes its current launch before he approaches. As he looks down at the rocket, he sees somebody in the smoke, but can't make out who it is. If only he had some kind of super awareness. But Marvel has other things to worry about for now. Sidewinder missiles have been fired at Marvel, while at the same time Una's hands rip out the main rocket's controls. By some twist of comic book fate, Marvel is directly in front of the rocket when it takes off. The Sidewinders were merely a distraction. Marvel attempts to clear the rocket, but instead finds it pushing into his back as he rides the rocket forward. At the same time, the missiles are still approaching. Marvel, running low on options, reaches over and pulls off one of the negabands, tossing it to one side, towards the missiles. As he does so, the G-forces cause him to pass out. And oh my, We sort of knew something like this was going to happen. The Negaband hits the first missile just so that it causes a domino effect, from which each of the other missiles explodes. This pushes the rocket off course enough for Marvel to escape its nose and regain consciousness. I love this cockiness as Marvel comes in to retrieve his Negaband. I was wondering if I had lost anything becoming one person again. The answer is no. As clean a piece of work as I've ever done. How about you cast a little more shade Rick's direction, and that cockiness is more of a Rick trait, but don't worry about that for now, because there she is, and there he is. We've seen this before. The two of them at Cape Canaveral, Marvel saving Carol, Carol rushing in to rest her head on his shoulder. Marvel wants to know what happened, but the only words Carol can say before breaking down in sobs is, "She hurt me." Marvel comforts Carol, wanting to know who could cause such pain, and he gets his answer. The voice that takes credit for this is wholly alien, but as Marvel turns and sees who it is, he feels his whole world die. At the same time, Rick Jones is having his world die. He's on stage performing his set, and this huge crowd is laughing at him. As one patron puts it, 50s haircut, 60s ballads, and 70s spacesuit. Dandy must have already performed, as another says to bring back the black chick. So, things are bad. Leave it to Rick Jones to make it worse. Only this time, his temper tantrum isn't taking place in Marvel's head. It's in front of a live audience of thousands. Rick pulls the plug on his guitar and has a full meltdown on stage, blaming the audience for not understanding his music and wanting a freak show. Rick tears up the stage, although some of the audience are still making fun of Rick, such as the one shouting, "The Who already did it!" Others in the audience are now screaming for more. As he goes backstage, Rick's spontaneity proved to be a hit once more, but as Dandy points out, Rick don't dig it. Mordecai doesn't seem to care. In fact, he appears pleased, explaining that Mordecai P. Boggs never promises his clients happiness, only success. It's the youngsters who fail to know the difference. Besides, Mordecai got what he needed, the best novelty stage smash of the year, and Mordecai has the entire thing on tape. So, after all this time, the truth about sweet-talking, sugar lips Mordecai finally comes out. The way he encouraged the spacesuit and ensured Rick was unprepared for what to expect on stage. Mordecai, with incredible foresight, built up his clients in the media since the Thanos War, used the media and his connections with superheroes to hype Rick up, promising a 20-city tour. All the hype, all the build-up, was so Mordecai could catch this one epic fail on tape and turn a profit off it. Amazing! Look at the size of that audience, and Rick tore up the stage while wearing the exoskeleton. This was an epic, epic, epic fail and a major win for one Mr. Boggs. Back to Marvel. Una laughs at him while pointing out that he still loves her. Marvel is confused. Eon had brought Una back to life, but shown him that the real Una would never return because her soul and mind had moved on. The creature that is now Una explains that she filled Una's body like water filling a sponge. She explains to Marvel that the parasite thrives on pain and was drawn to Una because of the jealousy she felt over Marvel and Carol's relationship. Marvel then reminds us that when Una died, she hadn't yet overcome the seed of doubt Jan Rog had implanted about whether or not Marvel truly loved her. But he says it now. He always loved her. But the host doesn't care, as the host body still has its pain. Marvel disagrees, arguing that it matters to him, and that there must be some way to get the creature out of Una. She tosses his hands to the side and proclaims that he can get rid of the parasite by holding his love. But she doubts he can do it. After all, thanks to the parasite, she's stronger than a Kree woman. Much stronger, as she lands a punch that sends Marvel flying backward. The creature works on a pain feedback loop. It is nourished by pain. The more pain it consumes, the less meaningful other sensations become, allowing her to only concentrate on the pain, which makes her even more powerful. As she says this, she keeps punching and rakes her fingers across Marvel's face. As she lands blow after blow, she berates Marvel for not fighting back, pointing out that Carol did at least that much. Marvel refuses because all she wants is more pain. The creature mocks Marvel for being incapable of striking her form, calling the once great Kree warrior ruined by Earth. She continues to berate Marvel while her face begins to contort. She dogs Marvel for throwing away their life together in order to protect a bunch of ungrateful humans. Marvel has had enough. He makes a fist and calls out, "You're not Una." And then he lands a full-on punch. He hits her so hard we get a zam. As Marvel starts laying on the hurt, he explains that, yeah, he did think there was something of Una left inside and didn't want to hurt that. But he's moved beyond that now. Una was too kind, too good to ever be this creature. And since this isn't Una, Marvel is going to end this mockery forever. This creature made its biggest mistake. Ending its life is the thing that will end Marvel's pain. Marvel, happy to have the creature in one place, calls out for it not to leave her body, but to stay in place. Marvel lets loose a massive blow. Whether it was to Una or the creature remains unseen. But afterward, we see the creature fade from Una's eyes before she goes limp once more. For just a moment, perhaps, in the central panel, we see Una behind her eyes. The creature is dead, but it's Una's body that Marvel holds in his arms, and Marvel wonders the same thing. Was there a flicker of Una at the end? Or is it just another in a long stream of broken dreams that have marked Marvel's time on Earth? Marvel weeps for the happiness he and Una lost. Marvel, speaking out loud to himself, says, "I have to leave this world. I can't abide another minute of it." And a voice responds, "Amen, brother." Confused, Marvel turns to see who spoke. He looks surprised to see Rick Jones, who should have been in Denver. How did he make it to Florida? And what about the other 19 cities he's contracted to perform in for Mordecai? Is Rick seriously going to break a second contract? And the answer is yes. Rick is convinced that his destiny is somewhere among the stars. Rick wants Marvel to take him with him. The issue ends with Marvel standing jaw agape at Rick Jones' request. And after all of that, the sun still hasn't finished setting. Overall, I think that this works great as a standalone issue. One thing I don't like is how it references Marvel and Carol's potential romantic feelings for one another. Heck, it's a central plot of the issue. But then never has Marvel or Carol addressed those feelings. In fact, the issue wraps up so fast, we don't even get a chance to see Marvel telling Carol goodbye. Rick shows up, and by the time the next issue starts up, Marvel has already left the planet. An extra page where Marvel says goodbye to Carol and then returns Una's body to its appropriate resting place would have been appreciated. We'll continue to explore the relationship between Rick and Marvel in the next episode as I explore the 6-issue story arc when Marvel returns home to confront the Supreme Intelligence in the second Supremor saga. I can't promise how soon I'll get that next video out, but I'm looking at weeks and not months. Feel free to hit any of the buttons below. I'm out.